Okay. In the Old Testament, dudes got to have like 5,000 wives and another 20,000 concubines.
Okay.
And have sex with all of them and get all of them pregnant.
Okay.
And the women had to just lay there and take it.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
So what up with that?
All right. Well, I think when you say like all of the Old Testament is this way.
It is.
No, it's not actually.
What? Abraham did it, right?
No.
Yeah, he did.
You want to know who asked him to go sleep with his servant?
His wife.
His wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So actually you don't, like, when you're talking about all this collection of wives and concubines, those kind of things, we really don't see that until the time of the kings.
Right.
And God actually warns the Israelites about this. The Israelites are saying, we want a king because we want to be like every other nation around us. And God says, you don't want that. If you get a king, he will take your daughters as his wives and as his concubines. And they're like, fine, sounds good. We still want a king.
All the dudes were like, it ain't us.
I mean, something was crazy awry. And so they still were like, no, we want a king. And so you don't really see that until the time of the kings. And you see this, you see this in the life of David. You see this in the life of his son Solomon.
Solomon was the worst, right?
Oh, well, because it ended up ruining him, and and ultimately the kingdom. Because at the end of Solomon's reign, he begins basically to take on the gods of all of his wives.
Right.
And that's what ends up basically leading to his ruin at the end. And then right after him, there's a division of the kingdom of Israel. And so it's completely split. But yeah, so
why was God okay with this? Why did he allow this to happen?
Why did he allow it to happen?
Yeah.
Well, they were acting like the kings that were around them. Okay? The other nations.
But was there not any rules about not doing this?
Yeah. I mean, they're in. So before this time, you do have, and I don't want to sit here because I could already hear people going, well, there's polygamy already happening in Scripture, and they're not wrong. Like if I go to Genesis, okay, and I'm looking at the life of Jacob. Jacob has 2 wives. But Jacob has 2 wives, and this is one of those crazy stories where he works for 7 years.
Oh, right. I remember this.
Yeah. So you know the rest of the story.
He gets the wrong one, and he's like, ew, gross. And then he works another 7 years to get the better one.
Right. So yeah. He worked 7 years to marry this man's daughter, but the daughter was the younger of the 2. And so the man, when it came time to give Jacob his daughter, he won't give Jacob his younger daughter. He gives who Jacob had been working these 7 years for. He actually gives Jacob the older daughter.
Rachel and Leah.
Yes. Correct. Well done. Yes. Well done.
See?
And so
and Bethany.
Bethany's got to be there somewhere. Yeah, if you know of a Bethany in the Bible, comment it, let us know, because Nate is pretty sure there's one. And so, so there is that there, but that's like, that wasn't norm at that point. And like, even going into the promised land, that wasn't the norm. That wasn't the way it was supposed to be set up. Again, it all really starts going awry with the kings.
Okay, but the Jews were still God's favorite.
Sure.
And wanted them to be the example, right?
Sure. Yeah,
which is what you've talked about before.
Yeah, sure.
So why was this okay to happen through so many kings?
Right.
If they were supposed to be the example.
Well, and this is one of those things where
like thousands of women got caught up in this, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, no question.
Yeah.
And I think the problem with all of this that we see is the fact that there's a tension of what you're talking about. Like, why would God allow this? Like, this wasn't God's design. This wasn't God's best. This is not even what God desired. But he did allow it.
So why?
Man, I think, to be honest with you, he's allowing it because he's already told the Israelites up front, your kings are going to do this. Like, they're going to mimic the kings around them.
Okay.
He's telling them up front, but if this is what you want, go for it. So in other words, he's warned them up front, but he's not going to twist their arm and make them do something
Free
or
will.
be something. Yeah, free will. But at least he gave them the caution up front.
And it ultimately meant that the kingdom got split.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it was just over the issues of women, but that was it. What it did was it caused a lot of the kings to, because one of the things that the Israelites also were forbidden to do was to intermarry. In other words, not marry. They were not allowed to marry those outside of, for those that were not Hebrews.
Okay.
So they had to marry only those that were Hebrews, okay, or Jewish people. And so, and what happened was they began to marry outside of that. So they're breaking other laws by the Lord just by doing that.
So the regular one-wife people were also not doing what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, if they were marrying foreigners, quote unquote.
Okay.
Yeah. But
so the majority
but a lot
of people only had one wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole Old Testament.
Yes.
It was just kings.
Kings going crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.